suit and tie and get your hair cut way up high. Get yourself a lawyer, son. You're gonna need a real good one.
Of course, if you need a real good lawyer, you have one this morning. David Whiting is with you in the studio, Melbourne solicitor, a man who can answer all your questions. 1300 222 774 is the number. You can text 0437 774 774, but we do like to talk to you. Hello.
Hello. I could point out that there is often a week's delay in the answer. When I get homework, I can answer all of your questions, but sometimes it's with a week's delay.
But that's okay, because I didn't qualify it.
Okay.
I just said that you could answer them.
You could be in marketing. Yeah.
Yes, it's the importance of qualification, isn't it? So give us a call if you have a question for David. He didn't have any homework this time, so
No,
very
took
lucky.
the week off.
Yeah, which means more time for your calls. Michael in Brighton. Hi, Michael.
It's Michael at Brighton. Over the road from my home is the home of an elderly lady who has a vastly overgrown nature strip outside her home. I emailed the council and asked them to mow it as the nature strip is their land. No reply.
Yes.
I put it to you, David. I put it to you that if I had a block of land covered with weeds in the same way, the council would order me to have it mowed.
Indeed, they would.
They would.
They would indeed, yes.
They'd send you a rude
what
note.
can I do? What can I do to force the council to mow their own nature strip?
Well, it's an interesting question, Michael, because there are some councils which have local laws that impose the obligation to do the nature strip on the resident. I don't think as a matter of law that works, because I don't know that they can impose an obligation on you to do something with someone else's property. And there are other councils who'll lend you the mower. So
Is that right?
Yes.
So you do it here. Here's a.
Well, you can come and you can get the mower, and you can come and then give us back the mower.
Can Michael do anything though?
Well, it's not his property, so the answer to that question would be no. But I think the answer is talk to your local councillor about maintenance of nature strips. Because I was listening before when you had the Mayor of Kingston on, and while encroachments from gardens over footpaths is important, so are street trees. And they encroach as well.
So, Michael, you've actually sent all the pictures. You've done everything that you.
They sent the pictures to me.
Oh.
Yes, I did.
Oh, to you.
Yes. So in the mail last week, I got some pictures from Michael.
Okay.
That said,
Missed that bit.
a nice house in Brighton with a nature strip that needs love.
Well, so what Michael should do is redirect that to the council and say,
Contact the councillor. You've got to talk to a person rather than send them an email or a letter.
all right. Good luck, Michael. Jane in Box Hill. Jane.
Hello, Jane.
Oh, sorry. It cut out a little bit. Good morning to you both.
Good morning.
I have two related questions concerning a will. It's a straightforward will, and it states, I direct my trustees to divide my net estate as follows, blah, blah, blah. No specifications are given relating to specific items or possessions. So my first question is, what is the accepted definition, David, of net estate?
Well, the normal assumption in a will drafting exercise, Jane, is that you turn everything into cash, okay? And what you do is you write cheques. Now, that doesn't automatically happen. There is your net estate is whatever you've got left after you've paid all the bills. So when there's nothing else that needs to be paid to anyone, so whether they be a creditor or a bequest, what you've got is the net estate. It's distributed amongst the residuary beneficiaries in the proportions that appear in the will. There is, if you have a look at the Trustee Act 1958, there is a power of appropriation which allows the trustee to appropriate assets in part satisfaction of shares. I'm not saying that you won't have an argument over it, but there is a power of appropriation in the Trustee Act. Does that help?
Well, so net estate, I thought automatically referred to the deceased's all of their possessions, everything that belonged to them, whether it be cash, car, jewellery.
No, that's your gross estate. Well, if you think about when you die, you leave certain things. It might be a house and a car and some money in the bank and some shares. And what happens then is that's your gross estate. You've also got some liabilities when you die. Now, that might be a pharmacy bill, it might be outstanding utilities or a newsagent. And then what you then deduct from all of that are the administration expenses. So that would be the costs of the burial or cremation, whatever you choose to do, whatever you pay the lawyer or the land registry or whatever to achieve the discharge of all of the obligations. So liabilities and administration costs. And then what you're left with is the net estate.
So, because I understand the executors have to sign an affidavit as part of the application for probate, and in the application they only provided details of the financials, being bank balances and cash assets. There was no mention of other items of value such as antiques and so on.
Well,
Were they required to include those?
Well, the requirement in the rules are that you provide a statement of assets and liabilities. I have this discussion with clients quite often about what's the measure of materiality. You know, you might have some crockery that you think is particularly valuable, but on the other hand, I'm finding that the sale of house contents is usually a very low figure. So, even if you're applying for a social security pension, they'll assume your house contents are $5,000 unless you advise them otherwise.
Anyone who's ever tried to sell second-hand furniture
will
yes,
will attest to the fact that they're not a high value. Oh, Jane, it's the question of materiality.
Jane, there you go. 1300 222 774 is the number. There are a couple of lines free if you would like to talk to David. That doesn't happen very often, so jump on while you've got the opportunity. Kay in Eltham. Hi, Kay.
Oh, good morning. Thank you. I was reading in the ABC News recently about the chap in Sweden who had his Australian passport and citizenship revoked last year by the Australian government because they discovered that he had taken out dual citizenship back in the 1990s. And I'm concerned that I might be one of the people in the same situation. So I was wondering how I go about finding out if that's actually the case and what I should do about it.
Okay, Kay, let's take what you needed to understand was that at the time that happened, the adopting of another citizenship had to be a repudiation of your Australian citizenship. And if you want to go back far enough, do you remember Christopher Skase and his wife Pixie, who went off to live in Mallorca?
Yes, I do.
And she lost her Australian citizenship and had to apply for it to be reinstated. So I think that was the 80s when that happened. Now, it then happened, and it may be entirely serendipitous, that there was a very important newspaper magnate who applied for American citizenship. And he managed to achieve that without losing his Australian citizenship. And that was at about the time the law changed.
Right.
So lucky for some, but, who knows what the catalyst for a law change is. You can adopt it, and you could adopt Irish or whatever one it is that you're entitled to now, Kay, without losing your Australian citizenship. I'll tell you what the date is next week. And if you are granted another citizenship after that date, you're okay. If you're granted it before that date, you could lose your citizenship. But there is a process on the Immigration Department website to apply for its reinstatement. Okay.
Thank you. I was thinking that was what I should do. I was wondering, though, am I allowed to work in the meantime? I'm currently looking for work, and it occurred to me that if I did accidentally lose my citizenship, then maybe I don't have the right to work.
Keep working.
Yes, until you've lost it, you haven't lost it. Yeah, exactly. Right? You haven't lost it till you've lost it. So, Kay, tune in.
No, she may have lost it, but there are no conditions on her ability to be, or she could be an unlawful non-citizen. Who knows? Kay, don't worry about it. Keep working, tidy it up, and we'll let you know next week what the date is.
Yep. David will give you the dates. Caroline in Altona. Hi, Caroline.
Oh, hi. Thank you very much for my call. It's to do with an estate like the other lady phoned through with. And I just want to know, my mum's just passed away, and I'm the executor of that estate. And I wondered how long I have to finalise things. I have told Centrelink and what have you. I just want to know about, like, the banks and gas, electricity, because it's a unit and, I keep popping in. I just wondered when I have to tell them all. Like, is there a particular...
Is there a timeline?
There's an expectation, well, there are a couple of expectations. There's an expectation that you'll make your application for grant of probate within a couple of months. That expectation is honoured in the breach. So there are very few people who achieve that deadline. In the event that it takes you more than 2 years to make an application for a grant of probate, you will be required to explain to the probate office your reason for delay.
Right.
So what you really want to do is simply make sure that there is no one disadvantaged by what you're doing.
Yeah, no one. It's just more the legal ramifications, as in, as I said, I've mentioned it to Centrelink and what have you. It's just more the banks and how fast do I have to get this going. It's those people like to close her account and then disperse everything. Everyone's happy that we just sit there at the moment.
Well, the answer, a few months and nobody's going to mind in the slightest. The utilities will want to be paid.
Yeah.
That's and the bank will enjoying your mother's money without paying any interest on it until such time as you collect it and distribute it.
Yep.
So I can wait a year type of thing. That's what I was wondering.
Well, my problem is you've got insurance issues with the unit. There's other issues that you might need to think about. I would be suggesting that you get an application for a grant of probate. You get in some cash. You start paying the bills through the estate rather than funding them yourself. And you can then put off the sale of the property for a while.
Yeah. Right, yeah, because I have control of her accounts, so I can pay all the bills.
Well, I accept that, but you don't have an authority to operate the accounts because they stopped when your mother did.
Yeah, but they don't know yet.
I understand that. I'm simply telling you as a matter of law, if you've got a power of attorney to get access to your mum's account, it doesn't work anymore.
No, so you need to get probate and then you can.
I'd rather she did it properly in the course of the... You would be considered to be meddling at the moment, Caroline.
Caroline, thank you for your call. I do have a text here, which I'm curious about your answer, David. And the texter says that I'm working, so can't call. Fair enough. Can you advise me of what to do if fellow apartment residents complain re the size and weight of one of my dogs? Body corporate regulations say no dogs over 10 kilograms. Attached is a picture of my 45-kilogram dog, who's quite and impeccably trained. I'm an owner, not a renter, and I'm nervous. Now, interesting question. I can't actually access the picture because a 45-kilogram dog
is a big picture, is that right?
Yeah, I'm a little bit... I don't know whether it was a mistyping, but what do you do if your dog is over 10 kilograms, you're an owner, but it's well behaved? Do you have any right?
The answer is you do, but again, I'll take that one on notice. There are certainly issues in relation to owners, corporations and animals about what you can and can't have. And I also know that there are issues in relation to renters and pets and what you can and can't do. So I'm going to take that one on notice.
All right. There you go. So I know you're at work, but you have to have a listen next week as well. Anne in North Ringwood. Hi, Anne.
Good morning to you both. David, we have an investment property which is one of 10 in an L-shaped block up in Northcote. The building has had failure of stormwater pipes and sewage pipes under the building.
Yes.
This has been rectified, but over time there is serious cracking throughout the building, with our apartment, I think, being the worst affected. We currently cannot let it out because I can put my fist into the cracks.
Yes.
Now, the root cause has been rectified, and we have waited now several cycles of seasons for things to dry out, and we believe the cracking to now be stable. do I have a claim against the body corporate building insurance for the damage in our apartment?
Probably not, Anne. The building belongs to the body corporate.
Yes.
The way I describe people who own a unit is they have the right to decorate the inside of a box, but they don't own the box.
Yes.
So the building is owned by the owners' corporation. Now, if we go back to your drainage and stormwater, I take it that was funded by a levy.
Yes.
All right. Now, what that tells me is that there was no one who might be held responsible for the failure.
No.
We run a system that's dependent upon blame. It needs to be somebody's fault in order to recover in the circumstances you're talking about. An obligation, for example, to build properly, a breach of that obligation, and damages following or flowing. So Sorry?
Sorry. Do we not have a claim on the basis the fact that the root cause has been fixed, but there is damage ensuing from the root cause? For example...
Yes, but whose fault was the root cause? You know, it's kind of like my brakes fail, so I run into your house. I get my brakes fixed, but that doesn't mean the brake failure is... whatever it is that caused the brake failure doesn't normally necessarily pay for your cost of repairs. Your issue is you've got to find someone whose fault it is who has insurance. What has happened to you is that your building will have gone past its 10-year building liability, and it simply got old and bits of it have failed.
So how does that differ then from private house insurance where, like storm damage...
you've got an external consequence.
Right.
Right? It's you've got there's an external consequence. If your bathroom floods because the hot water service blows up, for example, then your claim is ultimately against the hot water fault. But what you've got here is deterioration over time that had a flow-on consequence, but you don't have someone who you can hold responsible for the failure.
And sorry if that's not the answer that you wanted.
Isn't the answer I'd want.
Jack in Northcote. Hi, Jack.
Good morning. I left a wallet on a tram a while back, and it had a Bluetooth tracker in it, so I got to watch it move around the suburbs for a few weeks, and then it settled in an address in Armidale. I went down there and tracked it to the address, and then I called the police. They declined to come and help me retrieve it. So I'm just wondering, what are you meant to do?
I think part of the problem, if I was the police, was the request for instant action. Had you reported it as lost or stolen anywhere?
I had on the police online property loss system.
Then I would have said you've got... I can't... My only explanation for the police's non-attendance is that on my calculations there's an active police officer working in Melbourne for every 2,000 people.
Yeah.
And you may not have made it, Jack.
But Jack, isn't there another issue? Isn't it possible that someone actually didn't steal it, that you left it, they picked it up, they've taken it home, and they just haven't had time to try and contact you or call the police? Like, how quickly did you go down to the property?
We're 3 weeks.
Oh, 3 weeks. Okay,
yes.
fair enough.
Yes.
Yeah.
You have all my sympathy,
That's
Jack.
Different.
Have you considered doing a title search, seeing who owns the property?
Well, I actually, the police said they didn't like going to townhouses or apartments. It was a townhouse. I eventually went back and knocked on the door. An angry woman slammed the door in my face, so I waited, and she left the property, and then she threw it over a fence at Toorak Station, and I retrieved it then.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
So you've got it back.
I got it back.
But what a way to get it back.
Yes.
Yeah, but I was just interested that the police, they basically said, we're not interested, we don't like doing that.
Yeah, I'm sure I wouldn't like doing it either.
Gosh. Yeah. Oh, Jack, that's not good, is it, really?
No, but there's an advantage in having a Bluetooth tracker in your wallet. I was just going to say that.
There is a lesson out of that. David, thank you. Lovely to see you. And we'll see you again next week with a little bit of homework there, including about size of dogs.